Hello everyone, welcome back to another review. In this one, I'm reviewing Alien Romulus. Alrighty guys, we have another Alien movie. And the Alien movies, there's been a decent amount made. You know, you have the original, you have the sequel, and you have like the third one, and then, the fourth one, that one was good too. And then the fifth one, that was good. Now, you've had a few different ones, and I'm not really a huge fan of the franchise. I vaguely remember the first one. I just know, Sigourney Weaver was in it, and an alien was in it. But, anyways, when they announced they were coming out with this one, I was pretty excited. And after seeing the trailer, I was like, man, this might be a good movie. It might bring it back, kind of like what Prey did like a couple years ago, is where they kind of brought it back to its roots. And after watching it, I got to say, it really does remind me of that first movie that I barely remember, but before I get into it, I'm just going to start with the director, and you have Fede Alvarez, who's directed Don't Breathe and Evil Dead 2013. So he has a few decent movies under his belt. Along with the cast, you have Kaylee Spaney, Isabella Marcet, Alien Wu, Archie Renaud, and David Johnson. I probably butchered half of them, but that's the cast. All right, so basically this movie is about a group of young space colonizers who decide to check out an abandoned space station. They're in need of equipment and utilities, and so they hop on board, try and take what they need, but soon come face to face with one of the most terrifying creatures in the universe. Like I said earlier, this movie went back to formula. They tried to go more of a scary route, more like the original, and in my opinion, I think they delivered. But let me just list some of the pros and some of the cons that we have in this movie. All right, so starting off on the pros, we're going to go with the cast. Now, I heard James Cameron's working on another Terminator movie. So if he needs a Terminator, David Johnson's your guy, because he was basically a Terminator in this movie. I think he did pretty well, honestly. He had two kind of modes in here, and once he go into his second mode or his other mode, he just became a Terminator, in my opinion. Like, he really did a good job portraying a Terminator or a robot. They call them synthetics in here, but he did a really good job, I feel like, of displaying that. And I'll say he and Kaylee Spaney, they carried this movie on their back. The other supporting characters in here were nice too, and they had their time to shine, I guess, but for the most part it was just them two, and really the relationship with the Bond is something that I really enjoyed in this movie, especially David Johnson. He could be the Terminator. Matter of fact, they should come out with the movie Aliens versus Terminators. Now, don't tell me that wouldn't go crazy. That would go hard. But yeah, besides that, I'd say this movie, it was pretty suspenseful. You wanted to know what was going to happen and where the alien was. You wanted to see what was going on. And so the suspense was pretty good in this movie. And I mean, you can't have an alien movie unless the pro is an alien. The aliens in here, they were good. The CGI and even the practical effects that they had. And last thing I'll say is the story. The characters wanted a way out of what they were in and realized if they just go to this ship, they can get the supplies that they need to get them to their next point of where they want to go. And so that premise was good enough just to make the story make sense. But there were also a lot of plot holes or inconsistencies. And so let me start naming them. Here's where we're going to some of the cons. And that's the main thing. Plot holes, plot inconsistencies. I can go on and on about some of the plot inconsistencies in this movie. And we'll start off with Terminator. I think his name's Andy in the movie. And while I did like his performance in here, he was just too inconsistent. So he's a synthetic, is what they call him, or basically a robot. And sometimes he's like the $6 million man, or he's really strong. But on the other hand, he's too weak to open a door. I just feel like they didn't balance him out correctly, because on some occasions he has a lot of strength, or he's very smart or whatever, but on other occasions he's kind of dumb or just doesn't use his powers that he has. And so I can go on and on about that, but that was just one thing that bugged me. I just think his character had plot inconsistencies with his abilities. Along with some of the other scenes in here, like there's a scene where they have to heat up a room. And during that scene, Archie, he's talking like it's Xbox party chat. That didn't make sense because of the situation. Along with that, their idea of warming the room up, if you think about it, wouldn't make sense because it would affect them. And it didn't make sense. Not to mention, there was another scene where Callie, her character, she's in like zero gravity and she's trying to float through some stuff. There's no way she got through that. All handy dandy, perfectly fine. Like, I just feel like there's too much plot armor or plot holes in certain areas. Not going to say it takes away from the movie, It's just like after the movie when you're sitting there thinking about it and you're talking about it, you're kind of like, wait, why didn't they do this? Or wait, how did that work? You know, it's kind of like one of those movies. And so the last thing I'll say is the pace. I think at the beginning of the movie, it kind of starts off slow and doesn't give you a whole lot of information about the story or, you know, where they're at. It kind of just have some bullet points and they kind of briefly explain it. But I expect they don't really tell you what's going on. And the pace at the beginning was a little slow, but that's just nitpicking. Overall, this movie, it was a good movie. It was a good starter for what they're trying to accomplish. Hopefully one day you can get the Aliens versus Predators again, or even Aliens versus Terminator, you know? You know, if you see that in Hollywood, just know I was the first one to bring it up. Aliens versus Terminators. That would go crazy. But no, this is a good movie. You know, I'm glad they went back trying to be more scary, and I really hope a sequel comes out of this because I want to see more. And I recommend you guys watching this in theaters. And so with that being said, I'm going to give this the Piston Cup. But anyways, comment down below if you saw this and what your thoughts are. You know, I'd be curious if you agree or disagree with some of the things I said. If you agree with some of the plot armor that they had, plot inconsistencies, you know, I'd be very curious. And so comment below your thoughts. Thank you again for watching this, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.